Great stuff. So yes, welcome again. My name is Veronica Modupe Yusuf. A lot of you already know me, and I am a career coach. I'm a mom. I'm married. I've got 3 kids. I love my job, and I'm super passionate, about helping people to make a career change. I will go into my story in a minute. And with me today is somebody very special. He'll introduce himself in a minute. So normally those of you who join my challenges, you see that it's just me, myself, and I. But now I have a co-host, and he is amazing, very special person, very experienced in the tech world, and you will hear a little bit about him, and he'll be facilitating with me today. So first of all, we'll start with business analysis. So a lot of you have obviously expressed interest that you want to get into that space. And some of you have been chatting with me, asking me questions about the privacy space, which we will talk about in a minute. Just before we go, can you let me know in the chat where you have joined from? Just say, are you from the UK? Are you from Nigeria? Are you from South Africa? I spoke to somebody from South Africa today. Are you from the US, from Canada? Just type it in the chat, just the country, nothing else. Just put it in there. Joining from the UK, great stuff, UK. Yes, please keep it coming. Keep it coming. Now, this is going to be very interactive. So it's not one of those sessions where we just talk at you. We would like you to engage with us a lot, because we're going to have some time also where we would, go through some exercises. And so we really want this very interactive. So Bedford, great. Ghana, amazing. Canada, I think UK is winning so far, which is still amazing. Nigeria, that's great stuff. Great to have all of you. Keep it coming. Just let us know where you're coming from. USA, amazing. That's great. So we are global tonight. Another question I have for you as well is, let me know what's your area of interest. Why have you joined today? Are you interested in business analysis? This will help us to get a feel of the audience today. So are you interested in business analysis or data privacy, or even both? Let me know in the chat. Just put it in the chat here, and that will be fantastic. What is your area of interest? Business analysis, hybrid, both, great stuff. Keep it coming, people. Keep it coming. Both, if possible, of course. Yes, it is. You will find out in a minute. Business analysis, great stuff. Great. Wow, business analysis, that's amazing. Hybrid, both, that's great. Thank you very much for engaging, which is fantastic. So yes, let's get into it, because we have quite a bit to cover. So before I hand over to Tunde, who's going to be talking about the business analysis side of things, I will come on later and I'll talk about the data privacy side of things. So let me know once the slide moves. Yes. Let me tell you about Sterling Careers. So Sterling Careers is a UK-based or UK-established organization, but we serve, a global audience. Now, we are a training organization. We obviously offer coaching as well. So our focus areas are business analysis, project management, data protection and privacy, and we do a bit of soft skills development as well. And in the new year, we are going to be opening up to several other areas as well. And so we are a team made up of IT business analysts with across different domains, and we have people across financial services, higher education, travel, automotive, pharmaceutical sectors, amongst others. Now, these people that I've mentioned are in-house mentors and trainers that work within Sterling Careers. Now, part of the way we work, we offer the training in these areas, but our unique selling point is the fact that you not only get an opportunity, to get trained, and so you get the theoretical aspect of it, but then you also get an opportunity to work on live projects so that you can actually interpret, or you can demonstrate or even put to practice all that you have been taught. And that is one thing that we pride ourselves in. And so you will have an opportunity to work on real life projects. Now, everything, of course, is virtual thanks to COVID. Even before COVID, we were virtual. So all of our collaboration and engagement is done online, which means you can connect with us anywhere you are in the world. And we also are very flexible because our contact sessions are done in the evenings, UK time, of course, and weekends. So that gives you a chance, to do your day job. I still do a day job, to do your day job, and then to, come online to work on projects or go through the training with us. And so that is one flexibility that you will get when you come on. Let me start by telling you a story. Why am I passionate about this? And why are we doing this? Now, some of you already know, maybe you would have read it on the page, registration page. there was a little snapshot there. So I've been in this country, I think about 17 years now, to do a master's in human resource management, and I wanted, to get into that space. But then I had challenges, sort of, getting getting a job within that space, within the HR field. It was really tough, and so there was a lot of ups and downs, which I do not really want to go into all that detail. But and then I started a family as a mom. It was just difficult, to get that balance. And then so it meant staying at home and then settling for low-paying jobs, teaching assistant jobs, customer service agency jobs, just earning barely, bare minimum wage, £7.50, £8 an hour. And it obviously wasn't what I really wanted. Cutting a long story short, I then found out that I could make a career change thanks to my husband, who prompted me to say, maybe look at IT. And that's how I sort of got into business analysis. Now, of course, there were a few ups and downs, but I'm just, happy to say that I was able to make that transition successfully. And then I started telling people how to go about it as well. And for a while now, I have been showing people the step-by-step, process of actually making a transition into the tech space without necessarily having a technical background. So that is, in summary, my story. I think as we go along, you will hear more about it. So, who am I? I am Director and CEO of Sterling Careers Limited. I've got a master's in human resource management, and so I know a thing or two. And I've been in the tech space. I think this journey started about 10 or a little over 10 years ago. And recently I pivoted into the privacy space, which is why I'm going to be telling you about that today. I've been a privacy manager with an organization that is across 60 countries, and I've been doing that for about 5 years now. And I'm very passionate about helping people, especially women. I talk to most of you behind the scenes, and I say that the fact that you're a wife or a mom doesn't mean that, that's where your life ends. There is hope, for a better life and a better career. And that's why I'm very passionate really about that. So that is a little about me. So I'm going to hand over to Tunde, who is going to go straight deep dive into the business analysis section of today. And of course, he'll introduce himself. I will turn my camera off and hand over to Tunde. Thank you, and over to you, Tunde.
Hello. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Well, you're welcome all to this session. My name is Tunde. I started out life as an electrical engineer. Well, I got trained as an electrical engineer, and I've moved on since then. I am now a practicing business analyst. I think that's the summary of what I do. I spent quite a number of years doing software testing. It all revolves around the IT project environment within the UK. That's where my core experience comes from. Doing the same thing that I've done, I've worked in a few places across the world, working for one of my previous clients. And I guess that's all about the person. That's my picture on there. I think that was photoshopped. But it's okay, let's move on. Next slide, please. So today, we will be talking about business analysis. What is business analysis? Why do you want to come into business analysis? What does it offer you? What do you need to know? What is the learning curve like? How much effort do you need to put in to become a business analyst? And having been trained, having gathered the required skill set for you to be confident enough to call yourself a business analyst, the question then is, what is next? How do you get a job as a business analyst? What sort of jobs do you get as a business analyst? How can you be sure you can do the job of a business or do the tasks of a business analyst on the job? These are all valid questions, and hopefully across the next couple of minutes, I probably would not be able to answer all the questions, but I hope I would have said a few things, and Veronica will chip in as well to convince you that even if you have a million questions today, they are all pretty answerable, and you will get there. So what is business analysis? And why, of all the careers, of all the career options, you could have opted for, why have you opted for this particular one? What is it then? It is a practice, according to what we have on there, of enabling change in an organization by working with people within the organization to understand the needs of that organization and why they need to have the change and what the change looks like. And then you do some stuffs with the knowledge of the fact that the organization wants to have a change to either the whole of the organization or certain aspects of the organization. And you have worked on their motivations for wanting to introduce or bring about a change. And you have researched some solutions and you have presented them back to the organization. And the organization says, I think we like that more than this other one. That is the one that we will do. And then you go ahead as a business analyst to help the organization to realize the value based on the option or the solution that you have helped them to select. So I'll pause there. I know I have paraphrased what is written on the slide you're looking at. And I just want to say, does anything I've said in the last couple of minutes make any sense to anyone? Yeah, you could just send a chat message and let's spend a minute to catch our breath and try to see how we are doing. Thanks, Cletus. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. Thanks, Fee. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. From the Veronica, can you take that question? There was a question on there.
Well, okay. I'm just trying to, oh no, it's just repeating the question. That's fine, the one.
Okay.
That's okay. That's
Okay,
fine.
super. So let's go on to the next slide. So the role of a business analyst. So let's imagine a time in the next couple of weeks or months, depending on the individual, that you have now gotten a job as a business analyst. What does that really entail? What would you be doing? So on here, according to this definition, it says that it's an advisory role, but it comes with a responsibility for investigating and analyzing business situations. So I think the summary of what you would do, and I think it is mostly true for most business analysts. Obviously, things vary depending on the type of organization, on the maturity of the processes within the organization, on the specific industry or the domain of the organization and stuff like that. But there is a general trend across the practice of business analysis. And that is the fact that you could say that it is an advisory role. So you investigate and analyze business situations. You are a problem solver. You identify and evaluate options when you have a decision to make for an organization. I just wanted to picture this in your mind. We're going to talk a little bit. Johnson, that's what I'm trying to say. So a business analyst works in an advisory role within the organization. Now, part of what you do in your advisory role. Now, it is not always that you are in an advisory role because you still get to do a lot of work. It is not like you sip tea and say a few words in a day and that's it. No, sometimes it is more tasking and more engaging. But for the moment, I would like you to see yourself or yourselves as consultants within the organization. They have a business problem, they have a business situation, they have a change they want to make, they talk to you. You will investigate the full length and the breadth and all the options within the problem statement that they have given unto you. Yes, Gloria, it does. It does. So, okay, let me just move quickly ahead so that we don't stay on the advisory role. I'm actually trying to say that you do some work, you investigate problems, you analyze business situations, you try using information and fact and data, you identify and evaluate options for improving the business situation that you have been presented. You elaborate and then define requirements. You obviously capture requirements as well. And you have a responsibility to ensure whatever solution or option or decision you helped the business to come to, you help with the implementation and the use of whatever solution that is in line with the needs of the business. So that is what a business analyst does, mostly across whatever field or domain you find yourselves. Now, it could be slightly more technical and more involved, but you own the needs of the business. You identify them, you put them down in some sort of documentation as what is called business requirements. You do stuff to them, and then you midwife them into delivery. Now, in terms of how you work, and depending on your experience, obviously, to do all of the things that I said you do as a business analyst, imagining yourself to being on the job, there are key skills you would need. So first of all, to understand what the needs of the business is, you need to understand that business. You need to understand exactly what they are trying to get out of the change. And then so to do that, you need to engage with a lot of people in the business. Now, one thing you need to understand is that a business analyst speaks, you would, depending on the type of problem you're trying to solve, have interactions with the highs and the lows within the organization. You speak to senior managers, you speak to directors, because they are the people that will describe the problem that the business is looking to solve. So to be able to do this, you need very, very acute and very impressive communication skills. You need to be able to deal with people. You need to be able to get people to provide you with information, to respond to your questions, to respond to things that you need them to do. You need the ability to you need critical thinking ability. You need to be able to take a problem, look at the different dimensions of the problem, and you need to be able to pick information from everywhere you could get the information. You need to be very aware. You need to be able to carry out researches on topics, on business areas, on business functions, on competition, on stuffs like that. You need all of those general problem solving, information gathering skills. You need to be able to negotiate with different people within the business. When we talk about requirements gathering, different people within the business will tell you what they think they need. You need to be able to negotiate checks and balances within the request of this person and that person. You need to be able to prioritize and let people understand why you are saying something is more important than the other. That is negotiation skills. You need some technical skills. Now, here we have said that technical skills are optional, and that is to make this offering a little bit attractive to those of us that are not technical. Now, it is true, depending on the industry where you find yourselves, you might not need technical skills. However, who is to say you're not going to find yourselves in a place needing some technical skills? While it is not a mandatory requirement, I think one of the options Starling Careers will offer you is to just pick a little bit, just enough for you to be able to do some basic things on the computer. Put a few figures in Excel. There is nothing huge, nothing special about it. These are things you could pick up as you need them. Okay, I'll pause a little bit as well again and catch my breath. If you have any comments you want to pass across, you could just type them in to the text box there.
There are a few questions. Do you want to cover them now, or do you want to cover them towards the end?
So if you please collate them for us, we could, once we've looked at the example, I want us to actually get to the example.
Yeah.
Before we get to this bit, we could come, thanks, Cletus. So, I've just deliberately paused so that everybody can catch their breath as well. I know I've said a lot of things there. All I've said there, I think, in summary, is that you are an important part of the business. But for you to be that important part of the business, you require some skills. Key among them is communication skills. And we also talked about the fact that you probably need some additional skills. You need to be able to do research. You need critical thinking ability. You need to be able to solve problems. Essentially, that is what you do. And hopefully, somebody will pay you a lot of money doing that for organizations that you get jobs in or with. So this model that you're looking at here is trying to tell you that when you work in business analysis, this is how you tend to do things. But I don't want us to get into this now. I want us to skip this slide, and I want us to get into the examples. I don't want to, yes, keep going. We'll come back to this one. Yeah, okay. So this is just designed to bamboozle you a little bit, but I'll just take a minute. I could read it out, but I would like to just read the context. Don't bother about the other bits. And Veronica, where possible, I would like to maybe have people talk to me for 2-3 minutes, just to say if they understand what that context is talking about. Now, for those of us that want to get right into the meaty part of the whole thing, I think we should just allow this gradual increment in the level of information that we're passing across to you. We don't want you to become a business analyst tonight. We want you to be interested in becoming a good business analyst, a well-rounded business analyst. So I will try as much as possible to keep the technical jargons away from you where possible. So let's look at that context. It says that most businesses are not aware that they already have vast levels of data within their organizations. But this data is often inaccessible, maybe inadequate in its current state, or maybe they are not just exploited. So I think this example is also too hard. Let's go to task 2, Veronica. We'll come back to task 1 and all of the slides that we missed. I think most people can relate with this one. It's a bit wordy. I'm just quickly going to just read it out, and then we will have a little bit of discussion, the one that I asked for. Imagine a time just over 18 months ago. The good thing is that this happened to everyone, irrespective of where you are in the world. Right at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a small business in a little town somewhere called Veron's Cafe. Now, meet Veronica. Veronica, say hi.
Hi.
She says hi. She's the owner of Veron's Cafe, located somewhere in England. Veron's Cafe is one of the oldest and the best eateries in the town where the cafe is based. The cafe was hugely popular right up till the onset of the pandemic. What's the method of delivery? Chogo. What's that?
You can unmute yourself. Have you got your hand
So
raised?
I've read the whole story and I'm just answering.
Okay. That's fine. I'll just quickly
Just
read
finish
through.
it. I read very fast. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, that's good to know. Yeah, cheers. Okay, so due to COVID-19, like other people facing businesses, Veron's Cafe had to go into lockdown. Some of the potential impact was the envisaged loss of business, loss of customers, financial losses, all tied together. Really, there is also a threat of business closure. There is loss of livelihood by the employees. Even Veronica has said, because that's her business, she now decided that, you know what, I'm not going to just sit here and take that. She said, I am unable to go out of business. I can't afford to close the business down. And she was determined to find a way out. She, however, does not know, because she's been running the cafe for quite a while. All she knows how to do is to run a very, very good cafe. That's what made her the toast of the town where our business was based. Anyway, she was advised to seek out people who enable changes within organizations. And don't forget that we said that a business analyst enables changes within organizations. So we know that she spoke to a business analyst, probably you, sometime in the future, looking at this sort of problem for an organization. Now, this is a simplistic version of an organizational problem, but if you imagine that this was probably the scenario that quite a number of businesses found themselves 18, 19, 20 months ago. So you know that this is a realistic problem to present to you as being your first problem on the job as a business analyst. So the business is out and saying, we need to do something. So let's unmute. If you want to talk, you can unmute yourself. What does the business need in this scenario? Who knows? Don't forget that the business says, I can't afford to close the business. I need to find a way out. So what do you think the business? Zachogo?
Yes, she needs to keep making sales because it's the sales and ensure a cash flow, and then the cash flow keeps the business running, isn't it?
Okay. So she just needs to find a way to make sales. Okay. I accept that. What else?
So her business model was running on people coming, footfall, isn't it? People coming into the business and making order. And that has made, and everybody likes the cakes and her eateries. So she needs to find a way to get her products, which people love, to the people who need them and still be COVID compliant.
Okay. Okay. Someone else, what do you think?
Extending what the first speaker have said, I think the business needs to go online, because if she wants to reach to the people, our customer in quotes, and she wants to be COVID compliant, she has to take the business from physical seats to an online set and still be able to achieve the same product. So she has to upgrade. She needs a database, and she needs to be.
Okay, she needs to have, so the business needs to have some form of online presence, okay?
I think the first step is understanding what the needs of this business are, firstly.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, that is what we're trying to do. We want to know what is the need of the business.
What does she want to achieve from the business? Why did she set out to open the business in the first place? And then, is she achieving what she set out to do? If not,
no, but in this case, there is a specific problem, isn't it?
There's a specific problem, which is she's got the product, but then she's not able to reach the target population she wants to serve, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that. So yes, she obviously has a specific problem that she wants to deal with. Yes.
I think she needs to do a research from a customer and gather some information like their requirements.
Yeah, the customer is not allowed to talk to her.
If you have a contact of some of them, you can send text message. Of course, you can't be having a business for that long and don't have the contact of your customer. If she have, or she can just print a leaflet, go out through that door. Of course, in London, you can do that. Drop a leaflet and tell them, this is my number, contact me. What do you think we can do to improve this?
During lockdown?
Yeah.
So the story here is that she is well known. She has, already people like this business. She's the oldest and best eatery in the town. The cafe was hugely popular. So this cafe is already hugely popular. The footfall was already there. People like what she's doing. She has a customer base. What she needs to do now is find a way to deliver what she was doing with an open cafe in a different way. And then the business runs. She was successful until the lockdown. So the problem now is that people cannot come into the shop to buy. And that has now led to no cash flow. So she needs to adapt her business such that she can get what she's making, the product or the food, to her customers in the most cost-effective way. For herself,
Okay.
she's so satisfied. Her customers are satisfied. Her business is running. Cash flow is going on, which is at the end of the day is profit and loss.
Okay. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That's
Hello?
solutionizing right there, isn't
Yes.
it?
So
Hello.
yeah, go on then. Go on. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think in this scenario, because it's actually this has to do with let me say a targeted set of clients base that has been visiting. So I think one, she needs to work on, let me say, for example, let me just put it more practical. I think she needs to have like a customer service that deals with, that will be on phone. And basically, home delivery is key in this business. I think she needs to do more of home deliveries, because if she has been in that business for a very longer time, definitely she will have a database of most of her clients, and home delivery will solve this. Will actually bring a turnaround in this situation.
Okay, thank you very much for all the contributions. Yeah, so I think everything that you guys have said to answer the first question is correct. Yes, she needs to create more awareness on switching to online ordering system as well. Very good. So BS responsibility to gather requirement, map out assistance to be identify the gap, and yeah, that's fine. Absolutely all spot on. But what we need to do is try to put all of these things into specific context. So when as a business analyst, you're asking yourself, what does the business need? So the business says we've got a problem. They have to do what the problem is. You would say to the business, and this is where communication skills come into play. Business owner, business stakeholders, whoever within the business, what do you need? So this question is mostly directed at people within the business. And while we might have an idea or two about what they need to do, at this type of point within your engagement, during your engagement with the business, you ask questions. You put feelers out to trigger things that they need to say. So let's say that the business owner says to you, okay, Mr. or Miss Business Analyst, I need to sort out my business issues. I do not want to close down this business. I need to find a way to continue to work during the lockdown. This is basically what you guys have all said. And yes, I agree. That is absolutely spot on. What do? You write it down and say, okay, then what next? Veronica, she says, it's important to me, now this is Veronica talking, it's important to me that I get, if I get 50% of my customers back, I won't be able to break even because we don't make excessive profits. I estimate that I need between 80 and 90% of my customers back. This is what would allow me to keep the shop open, to be able to pay the bills for the cafe and be able to pay the salaries of the people working in the cafe. So this is a bit more precise in terms of the need of the business now. The business is saying, I need to get between 80 and 90% of my customers back. So that is what Veronica said to you. So, okay, that makes sense. That is quantifiable. She probably, like one of you said just now, she probably has a record, or she knows because she's been running the cafe for quite a while. She probably can give you a list of 50, 100 people that patronize her. She knows the people that are regular and stuff like that. So she knows what 80% stands for or what 90% stands for. And then she says to you, she says, this pandemic is new to every one of us. We've never seen it, well, at least not in our lifetimes or lifetime. Just in case it happens in the future, I want to move from the model of business that I was running to one such that if we were to have another pandemic and there is another lockdown, I don't want to have to struggle like this. So Veronica says to you, I need to develop a business model such that Veron Cafe will run sustainably in the future should a similar sort of scenario happens to everyone and there is a lockdown. So say, okay, I understand what you need. So what do you do as a business analyst? You take everything the customer has told you away. So that space, that's getting the customer to talk to you for you to understand their needs, to understand the problem you are trying to fix, to begin to gauge in your mind what good would look like when you deliver a solution to the business. It's called understanding the needs of the business. Now you take all of that away, and then you do some sort of research, and you say to yourself that, okay, I know what the business wants. They want to get their customer back. So you want to so you've learned how the cafe business, well, no, you understood what the business needs. Okay, that's fine. You probably would then sit down, now that you know what the needs and the objectives of the business are. Okay, how do you run your cafe actually, Veronica? Veronica tells you that I have 3 or 4 kitchen staff, and I have 3 or 4 waiters or waitresses, and between the 7 of us, we run the cafe. Usually we have a lot more customers in the morning and in the evenings, so we run shift. So in other words, you are asking how the cafe business works. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get domain knowledge of that particular industry. Now, if you can generalize what I'm trying to say, it is essentially what you do in your day jobs as a business analyst, or well, at some point in your journey as a business analyst. So say, how does the cafe business work? So you try to understand how the cafe business works. Imagine that you have you are working as a business analyst, maybe in a local government or something like that. So you need to get an understanding of the domain in which you're working. So let's say you have done that. You got ahead. No, let's come back. No. Let's go back to text number 2. So you were still there, and you understand the change required, you understand the problems, you understand the objectives. Now, who can tell me what they think is next?
Practical solutions.
Thank you very much. So you prefer options to Veronica. Now, you explore options. Actually, you present the options to the client or to the business, and then you try to add facts and figures behind your options. So in fact, what I'm trying to say is, because you understand the business, you understand how the business runs, you understand the change that the business wants to make, you try to do a little bit of research. We mentioned the fact that you need some research skills, and you do what is called the cost-benefit analysis. Now, don't bother yourself so much about what it means if you don't already know, but it's a way of comparing different options. You are saying that if you do this, you are going to get this, but these are the other things that you need to consider about it. But however, if you do this, the gain is this. You try to put numbers on there, and because you understand the business is able to see exactly what you are talking about. So in this case, from the earlier contribution that you guys all made, I'm rushing now because of time, but please feel free to ask questions so that we get this basic concept of the life of a business analyst right. So one of the options you said is that that the person needs to have some online presence. So I would read out a list of what I have written in here. So the advice you're giving to Veronica is that, number one, you need to make a home delivery app for Veron's Cafe. That is what you said. It's almost inevitable these days. It doesn't even look like a far-fetched option, but yeah, at the time, Veron's Cafe did not have that because they were focused on satisfying their customers that come into their premises. So he said, yeah, we need to make a home delivery app for Veron's Cafe. Okay, that sounds okay. And then, yes, and then you say, okay, what else? You say, okay, the next thing we need to do is that we need to offer special work from home mailboxes. Again, this is similar to everything you've said. I am just paraphrasing this to make it a little bit professional sounding. So, okay, yeah, that sounds very nice. Work from home mailboxes. Okay, that is fine. And then because you want to build the loyalty that Veronica has enjoyed across the last couple of years while she owned the cafe, you want to transfer that to some sort of online thing, something physical that these guys can realize. So you say to Veronica that, yeah, provide loyalty coupons or stuff like that. And where I think everybody, Starbucks, everyone, Cafe Nero, they do it well, this one that sells chicken as well. They use hot pepper to do their loyalty.
Yes.
And
Nando's.
Yes, Nando's, thank you very much, that one. So you say, okay, that's fine. For every 5 work from home mailboxes you buy from us, you get one. Stuff like that, things that just makes the offering a little bit more interesting. I say, okay, then the other things, just like somebody said in the chat message, say, okay, we need people to be able to find you for the future. So you say, actually, I'm presenting you 5 or 6 options to solve our immediate problem and help us get 80% of your customers back. We need to have the home delivery app. You need to be offering work from home mailboxes, and you need to provide loyalty coupons. You said to Veronica, I think this will solve 80% of your problem and bring 80% back. Veronica looks at her business, she said, yes, I agree. And you say, okay, well, the other things we need to do is that obviously this lockdown will be lifted. We need to have better web presence. We need to get Google address listing. We need to engage the likes of Just Eat or Uber Eats so that there are many more options for people to get their orders in for you to be able to sell more. Now, with these options, you would say to Veronica that even the three will solve the biggest problem that you have presented to us, but the other and all of them combined, if we can implement them, what they will do is that they help us build a little bit more sustainability into Veron's Cafe. And this would likely take you into the future because then you are now at pace with the market, because the market just do order for delivery mostly again these days because of this the nature of life in the world now. So you present those options to Veronica. She says, yes, those are good for my business. I agree with you. How do we start? She gives a go ahead for you to start. You go back to your team. you organize the development of the app. You get the app into App Store or Play Store. Is that what it's called? Or the other one for Microsoft or whatever it is you need to do. You get the app live. You do stuff just to make the option viable. You make sure that because you understand the business, when the developers are developing the app, you bring insight, you answer their questions, you paint scenarios to them, you help the developers understand the process flow and how the cafe business works. You help the development team understand the thinking of the customers of the cafe because you have engaged with them, you understand them, you know what they think. You help the developers to understand how the loyalty or the loyalty coupons will work, how you work with them that on how to make sure that even though there is a system that is tracking the loyalty point that these guys gain for every part product because they are being done online, you also need to do a lot of stuffs around this business model that you are trying to migrate online. And then as a business analyst, so now imagine a scenario that, so obviously you need a much more complex organization in you delivering the application to your customer. Obviously you need a development team, which I mentioned. You also need the ability to manage a project because that is a project. A project is something that doesn't exist but now need to exist, and you make that happen. So all of those goes into that, but I've just closed that up by saying you do that as a business analyst. But let's assume that is correct. So you do that as a business analyst, and then you come back to Veronica, and then you sit down with Veronica or representative of Veronica that, okay, this is how we think this will work. Is that fine? Yes. Is there any other thing? Or she says, no, I want to do this like that, and I want to do that like that. You take all of those feedbacks, you take them back to your development team. So in essence, you have some, apart from gathering the requirements and understanding the business needs, understanding the business domain, you've preferred options, you've quantified your options by doing a cost-benefit analysis associated with each of the options. You have tried to do a projection of how the options that you have preferred or given to Veronica will help her realize our objectives. You are the one that took all of our business requirements back to the development team. You work with the development team to ensure the delivery of exactly what your customer wanted or said they wanted. You brought this solution back to your customer. You did a role play and you did some testing with your customer. The customer provided some feedback. You took the feedback back to your development team. You are acting as an intermediary to or between the business and the development team. So in short, the picture that I've just painted describes your typical work or a typical day or set of days as a business analyst. I am out of time. This is a very interesting topic, but I'm going to pause now, catch my breath, and see if you have any questions in the context of task 2 that we have just described. No? Okay. But can you still hear me? Hello, Veronica?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So, so generally that is what you do as a business analyst. I'll just go through that again. You need to understand the needs of the business. Because you're helping the organization to introduce changes. You need to know the needs of the business. You need to engage with people within the business to understand details about the business, to understand the details about the change, to understand the way the organization runs and stuff like that. So how can you prove that? You will do, that is what I said, but you do cost benefit analysis. You will do, so you can't be absolutely sure, but you do projections. You understand the business, you understand the need of the business. Veronica has described the how fierce the loyalty of our customer is. So yes, it is not factual, but it is based on the information from the business, and the business owner readily agrees with you that yes, I am convinced that what you have proposed is going to bring my customers back. Maybe you said, well, within the next 6 months, it will bring your customers back. She says, actually, I know my customers. If we did this and did that, maybe it can bring them back in 3 months, or it can bring them back in 1 year. So you're not absolutely sure, but you have supported your claim and the options with a documented cost-benefit analysis, which reflects the figures and the facts and the timelines that the business would have given to you. That is how you project confidence in your figures, in your solutions to your customer. So, excuse me. You just make it convincing. I should have had a cup of water here. Sorry about that. You just make it convincing and easy for Veronica to buy that off. In any case, with what you've proposed here, the 5 options you've listed, I think Veronica will readily agree with you that this should be sufficient to help her bring back at least 80% of our customers. So in general, that is what you do as a business analyst. Now in the task 1, so Veronica, if you please go to task 1, back to the other one. So this is talking about the fact that within a business, there is quite a lot of data, a lot of information within a business. Now, one of the most common types of business analysis roles you will come across. So typical managed consultants are doing the role of a business analyst. So you would find out that it's actually a pathway to becoming a management consultant. I'm not saying it's the only thing. Obviously, you need some management qualifications, but it is essentially what you do. It's just that management consultants maybe deal more at a strategic level within the organization, while as a business analyst, you are doing exactly what they are doing because you are a problem solver, and you do more than solve a problem by advising the business. You actually roll your sleeves up and you get into the real thing by helping the business to deliver specific items or specific solutions as you have agreed with them. So within the business, you'll find that there is data. So I said that you spoke to Veronica. Veronica described our customer behavior. She gave you, you're welcome, Gwemi. She gave you the details of our customer and stuff like that. And with that, what you have done is you took the data that Veronica had and couldn't make any value apart from knowing that I know Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A comes in at 10 o'clock in the morning, Mr. B comes at 10:30 in the morning without fail. There is a lot more intelligence or insight or pattern you could build into such data. So business intelligence BA, is that what it's called? Something like that anyway, needs to be able to work with data. I think it is that I'm trying to paint with task 1, that you need to be able to piece data together and build insight and intelligence from data that the business has and the business does not know that they have, or they didn't know what to do with what to do with the data. So that is part of what you do. But in general, to do this work, you gather requirements, you extract data, you play with data or map data, you cleanse data or do stuff. Now, this is getting into technical bit and I don't want to do that, but it is just about information that you are presenting, and you are convincing in the way you have presented that information back to the business, and that is what you do, and somebody pays you. a lot of money for that. So if you please go to slide number 17 or 18. No, not that one. We don't need to do all the technical stuff. So these ones are just talking about the skills. If you go forward, I don't want us to go into, we don't want you to become a business analyst today. Yeah, this one. So I'm trying to close now. I would take comments. I just want to paint a rosy picture of what is possible. So that you can be encouraged. Yes, I will start with the contract number 3 item on there. Now, and that is even conservative, by the way. I don't know. Some people are not motivated by money. My advice to you guys is be motivated by money. Sorry. When you put a lot of effort into getting yourself into a career that maybe some people never knew existed, and number 2, maybe they knew existed, but they didn't know how to get into it. But you put the effort, you burn the midnight oil, and you get into that. I think it's only okay if they pay you a lot of money for that. So going into business analysis, you could get either permanent or contract roles, and the salary could be in the sort of range. Yes, so maybe yes, for contractors, you are expected to be a contractor on a payee, meaning that you are within IR35 rules. And all it just means is that you pay tax just like permanent employees. The tax is deducted at source. You get holidays, you get holiday pays, you get sick leave, but all of this comes out of your daily contract sums. But at the end of the day, it's still something to start with, especially if you have been living off the edge in the past, and you really need your circumstance to change a little bit. I think the gist of all of this is that you are doing the right thing. This is in quote an easier option for you to take to get into working as a professional. And yes, it takes a little bit of effort, but what we have discovered is that the market for business analysts is not reducing. Many businesses are coming online every day. Yes, I want to assume that some businesses are still dying off, but because of IT and technologies and stuff like that, there is a need for businesses to think through very well what they are trying to do. There is a need for them to map their processes, especially if they want to use technology in any part of their processes, in any part of the process they currently do. They want to take a chunk of it and replace it with the technology. There is a need for a business analyst to help them map that out, to help them do stuff that will make it clear to them what the end goal of the change that the business is looking to introduce will look like, or the end result, or the outcome, sorry. So there is always something, there is, in the current climate in the UK and in the rest of the world, there is always a market for a business analyst. And I think that is what I'm trying to get out of this slide, and that you made the right choice for those of you that want to go into that specialist area. So I have really abused my time. Apologies for that, Veronica. As a brief introduction to what business analysis is, I want to hope or believe that I have said enough to get you even more interested in this career than you were before you listened to me. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop here and take comments and questions if there is any.
Thank you. Can I just ask people to pop in the chat box? Do you feel convinced enough that, yeah, this is something to explore? You helped. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So can we get some feedback? Does this feel like it is doable, or is it like, oh God, this sounds difficult? Let's get your comments from Tunde's explanation. Is that something?
So if you imagine that in all your minds, using the task scenario 2 that I painted, essentially that is what you do as a business analyst. You solved Veron's cafe problem. So why can't you get somebody to pay you 50, 60,000 per annum or 500 pounds a day, as the case may be, for that? So who is not convinced that they want to continue on this journey? Maybe we should do that, since I know a lot of people are convinced.
So who is feeling like, maybe it's not for me? Just put it in the chat box. Okay, they're saying doable is doable, sounds doable. Is somebody still on the fence? Doable, okay.
Good. Now, so should we take the questions that we got earlier?
Okay, let's do that before we go into privacy. Yes, let's go to the top.
Thanks, Akano.
Yeah, it's helping. BA is the thing. BA responsibility as somebody.
So somebody typed in earlier, so as you're going through the list, sorry, let me just quickly, that a business analyst job is to take the assist and to be and do stuff to it. Yes, simply put, but yeah, simply put, that is what you do really. But it is all of what you do. Getting the information together to form that clear, simple picture that you described. I don't know, I can't remember who
so
put that in the text
she
chat.
says, BA responsibility, gather requirements, map out as is and to be, identify the gap and analyze how to deploy the change. This is somebody who already is in the field. Set up, create website for her customers to place orders and quotes. So
yeah, exactly that. So now it is, so when you describe it like that, it is pretty straightforward and it's pretty simple. But I think I can tell you now that for most of us as business analysts, you would be, that is exactly what you're going to be doing 80% of your time. The tools. So one of the things that you will find out is that there is a lot of technologies available in the market for you to use. If I was to mention just 3 things that you would need to know about, and those are part of the things that you will be talking about on this course that you are looking to enroll in, is you wouldn't necessarily have to use it, but one of the common tools in the industry for managing the process for gathering requirements, documenting them in some form or shape or form, going into development. If you are building an application, especially if you are working as an IT business analyst, is Jira. So it's just one tool. Somebody asked about tools. There are other tools. Now, one of the things you would need to be able to do is work with numbers as well. I mentioned preparing the cost-benefit analysis earlier. So you would need to have some knowledge of Excel. Now, after time, please help me save that question from Prudence, and you'll play it back to me. I couldn't read it all in a minute, but I just want to finish my thought. Then you need to be able to create documents. You need to be able to work with Microsoft Word. You need to be able to work with PowerPoint. So these are not, I mean, at this stage, I think I would like to believe that we have all had interactions with at least 80% of the tools I mentioned just now. But these are things that you would pick up and would help you to shape your understanding and to at least get the basic minimum skills level that you require for these applications. Obviously, there are several other applications that you get to interact with as a business analyst. However, your focus is just the needs of the business. Any other thing that comes or tool that you use is just aiding your primary job. Your primary job is to understand what the business needs and to convey that information to the people that will deliver the solution that the business says they want. That is it. Technically, you don't need a tool for that. You don't need any technology for that. You just need good understanding, critical reasoning, critical thinking ability, problem solving ability, and that's it. You just need to be able to write it down and then do a little bit of stuff, just like somebody said, tabulate them, analyze them, go ahead into building websites. Now, some people might tell you that a business analyst would need to be able to do some technical stuff. We don't recommend you do that. Our view is that you should stick with the language of the business. At the end of the day, the business is always king.
So there are some comments. Do you want to go from Prudence's one?
Okay,
because
let me see if I can.
are not doing well for time, but let's just take it. Yeah. So
okay,
says,
I can scroll that. Okay, I still have to scroll. The BA will bring all.
Oh, okay.
So I have it now. So,
okay.
So I'm starting from the last one now. The BA will bring all the teams together and run the investigation. The sales team would bring in their knowledge from their area of work. Yeah, you engage with the people within the business. That is one of the things we said you did for Veron's Cafe. To gather information, you must have people skills. When you ask people to do things or provide you with the information, they need to be able to respond to you. You come with the authority of the business, but then you still have to be able to ask questions in a way that you get the right answer and not a subjective answer. So yes, you bring the team together. Yes, you lead all of those sort of engagements. And yes, you capture facts and information from all of these meetings. So you need to be able to organize meetings, you need to be able to organize workshops. So all of these sort of things, bringing teams together, these are part of what is called the techniques of business analysis. So that is one of the slides that I skipped earlier. I didn't want to go technical, but interview skills, meeting skills, workshop skills, all of this sort of stuff, they are things that you do as a business analyst. Is it wise to do a course with IIBA so that you can have it on your CV? One of the things that Sterling Careers says is that where at all possible, having an entry-level certification on your CV is gold. If you can, do it. If you can't do it, then you need to do a little bit more work to compensate for the lack of certificate on your CV. But the answer is yes. We really recommend it and we encourage it. We believe it's the best way to go. We offer access. Would an organization not rather prefer to save costs and do this problem solving by engaging a few relevant departments in the business for solutions? So when organizations want to make changes, there is they introduce project as a vehicle for introducing changes. The rest of the people that work within the business, they will still have a day job to do within the business. So they will continue in their business as usual role within the business. So a business analyst is to help the organization make an identified piece of change. They may use people who are already in the business, but a specialist BA it's a specialist role. Getting people that are already in the business to do the work of a BA is like, number one, distracting them from their day job. Number two, bringing the same thinking and lack of technical, additional technical competence that a business analyst brings to doing their job. So I would say that most organizations believe in hiring a BA to do the job of a BA, and they wouldn't necessarily go as far as bringing people. It is a specialist role. It is you solve a specific problem within the business, and I think it's important enough for organizations to invest in you to come and do that task for them, rather than getting somebody else from within the business to do it. They would rather have the person within the business act as an SME, subject matter expert, to give you everything they know about that area of the business, so that you can concentrate on introducing the change, while the people within the business can concentrate on doing their day jobs. And what are the software tools? We've already answered that. Are these contract rates 13-day rates or experience higher day rates? So that's a very good question. They just talk about day rates, but one of the things you're going to be doing working with Sterling Careers is building enough level of experience that could go on your CV that you could demonstrate at an interview, and which would and should earn you those kind of rates that you see on there. But typically, those sort of rates will ask you for a number of years of experience. But what we try to do is to, instead of spreading the number of years of experience into things that you need to do, we try to concentrate the knowledge for you across a couple of weeks. And as long if you're good enough, then you are in. People don't bring unnecessary factors into quantifying how much value you would come to add to the business if they were to engage you. It is doable. Okay, I think the last couple of questions where okay, yeah, those are from Sterling Career. So I guess my task is done here. What do you think, Veronica?
Yes, I believe it is. Very, I think that's very good. Thank you very much. If there are no further, let's see, thank you very much. Okay, good. Thank you, Tunde. Thank you, everybody, for engaging and for your comments so far. So yeah, business analysis is doable, and all you, like we always say, is just be ready to roll your sleeves up, get to put in the work, and we say what you put in is what you get out. And I also added a comment there to say, yes, people worry a little bit and they say, oh, I don't have enough experience. Will I be able to command this sort of rates? And we talk about leveraging your transferable skills. So things that you have done before, which is something that we work with as well. We will help you to look at your CV to see, okay, what are those skills and competencies that you actually have, maybe from previous jobs or career path or roles that you've done, that actually can be leveraged, that can be transferable even to the role of a business analyst. We talked about the skills that you require as a business analyst: communication, negotiation, analytical, and all of those things. Those skills you will have, most of us have those skills, even though we've not been called business analysts. So what we do is we will then help you to sort of repackage or repurpose what you have before so that it stacks up your experience, because our program will run, say, between 4 to 6 to 9 months. But of course, when these jobs are out there, they may require more. so that you're not starting from the ground. We will say, let's look at what you've done before. How can we repurpose it? How can we repackage it so that it looks and it's speaking to the right audience? Then you can then be able to demonstrate or articulate that, okay, I have picked up additional skills, I've got this qualification, and all of that is your packaging and your presentation, which is something that we help you with. And then you just be able to put yourself out there, and you can then begin to pitch for these sort of rates that we're showing. I love the idea of leveraging my, yes, that's something that we do. Yeah, it is packaging. Great stuff, amazing. Yes, we are not doing so well for time, but we will go, we move. Great stuff. Thank you so very much, Tunde. I've been a business analyst. I love business analysis. It is, and I say it's one of the evergreen careers or career paths, because like Tunde has already said, businesses always, they need somebody to help them, to prefer a change and like the task that we've looked at. And so organizations will always need business analysts. So it is a long-term, it is an evergreen career to consider for definite. Do you offer on-the-job support? Yes, that is something we will talk about later once you come onto the program. We have people that have already gotten jobs, but they're still with us, and it's something that we can also look at as well. So let me go deep dive quickly into the other segment, which is the data protection and privacy side of things. Now, I'm very passionate about that because I recently did a pivot into that space. I've been in business analysis for quite a number of years. And I think about 5 years ago, I decided to go into this privacy space. Now, this is another area that even if you actually start out as a business analyst, you can decide, oh, maybe you want something more specialist. You can easily flow into a data protection or a privacy analyst, because a lot of the things that you do, we're talking about leveraging transferable skills. Now, this could be an opportunity for you. And then I also get a question. People ask me that, oh, I'm interested in cybersecurity. How do I get in? And I was talking to somebody. I said, you can start out as a privacy analyst because it is less technical to start. And so we talk about getting into the tech space, and we say start with maybe the not so technical areas, and then want to get a foot in the door. So once you get that foot in the door, then over time you can start picking up maybe more specialist or more technical skills depending on your area of interest and all of that. So that's the same thing as well. So if you're somebody who's interested in cybersecurity, information security, you could actually consider a data protection or a privacy analyst, because there's sometimes overlaps, and these functions kind of sort of work together, but this is a bit more less technical than the cybersecurity and information security space. So you can start as a data protection or privacy analyst. So what does it really mean? Now, I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. 2018, everybody was running around like headless chickens and, talking about how do we get GDPR compliant, at least for the EU and the UK at the time. And so a lot of organizations operating, within the EU had to be GDPR compliant. And that's where the whole data protection and privacy analyst function or career path or role started. And so the question is, how do you start? What do you need to think about in order for you to actually consider that career path? Now, we asked the question in the beginning. I asked what your area of interest, and I think a few of you said you wanted to consider both. So hybrid, either business analyst or a privacy analyst. Can I tell you that? Now, some organizations actually, when I started, my title was GDPR business analyst. So that's why it is an easy transition. So maybe if you start with business analysis and then you go into this, or if you are even currently functioning as a business analyst and you're thinking, okay, let me consider something a bit more specialist or something different, you can flow into the role of a privacy analyst because you do a lot of things that are quite similar. Now, the privacy analyst needs to be aware of a few things. I get a lot of times people say, oh, the GDPR has 99 articles, by the way. And so a lot of people are put off because they feel, oh, I need to have maybe a legal or law background and all of those things. I need to know these articles. And I'm just here to bust that piece of myth. You don't need to know all the 99 articles because it's just not an expectation that is realistic. Now, even though those articles are there, they're just for you to sort of get a good understanding of the body of knowledge. But when it comes to actually functioning within that role, there are some core principles which I will tell you about in a minute. Okay, I'll come to that. Now, so what is a privacy analyst? What do you want to think about? So I just call those technical skills and knowledge, but it's not like, your normal, computer programming and coding and all of those things. No, but there are certain things that you would need to, you need to know and need to be aware of, which I'll come back to this. Let me start with just sort of throwing a bit more light on this, because this is where you start from, data protection, because at the end of the day, that's what the either privacy consultant, as they call them, sometimes they call them GDPR business analysts, or sometimes call them privacy analysts. What are they really about? Now, like I said, it is really because of the whole GDPR, the whole data protection. Now that everybody is online, we have information, we have our personal data. You have your personal data flying all over the place. You have your personal data on social media. You are online, you are putting your information on several forms. You are buying things, you are placing orders, and your information is everywhere, okay? But GDPR came in, to try to protect us, to give us a bit more protection when it comes to our personal information, to give us protection, to give us more privacy, so that businesses will obviously know that, okay, they need to handle the data of you and me that they collect, in a more secure manner, rather than just because back in those days, you will see everybody, forms and all over the place. People are just, collecting data, saying, oh, we'll collect it in case we need it. But of course, the GDPR has come in to stamp on that, to say, okay, there needs to be some principles and policies in place so that our data is obviously processed in a secure way and we are protected, and your information is protected, my information is protected. So what you see on the slide here just talks about what I just said, and the GDPR really focuses on personal data, okay? So it's not just all, there's not, because there's different sort of data, but here we're talking about personal information, personal data, such as your name, email addresses, phone number, IP address, cookies that they drop on your laptop, all of that. So GDPR has sort of itemized and classified different pieces of information that actually falls in that category of personal information. Okay, so, and it obviously relates to people that are alive. So if you say, oh, my dead relative, you collected their information and I want to know, blah, 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 nobody's going to talk to you, because GDPR just protects data that belongs to living individuals, okay? And also the focus is all this information that we're talking about, can businesses actually use that data to uniquely identify somebody? So for instance, let's give an example. If, for instance, there's a co-op, as an example, most of us have co-op on Go to Co-op, and they've got a database, and maybe on that database, they just have maybe names, first name and last names, and it's just there. And they don't have maybe other pieces like email addresses, phone numbers that can be pieced together with Veronica Yusuf that would make that data uniquely identifiable to me. Then we will say that data is not really GDPR data, because there could be several Veronica Yusufs. But the way it becomes tricky and where it becomes more sensitive is when these pieces of data are sort of pieced together in order for them to say, oh, there is my name, there is my phone number, there is my postcode, and all of that. So that way you know that it has to be one person because the person lives in this address. The person's name is Veronica, the person's name is Yusuf. And if you have a combination of those data sets or those data items in your database, that of course means it is personally identifiable information. And that is what businesses have been mandated by the GDPR to ensure that they have safeguards in place and ensure that they protect that information properly. Now, so the privacy analyst, just like, let's say, even the business analyst, when you, of course, there is a job, there is an opening, and an organization say that, oh, we want to work towards GDPR compliance, then the privacy analyst comes in. And we'll talk a little bit about where the privacy analyst should start from, okay? Now, what you're seeing here is just what is referred to the ICO 12 step. The ICO is just the Information Commissioner's Office. Now, that is the supervisory. I'm trying not to be too technical here because there's going to be slides. There's going to be links that will pop in the chat box for you to read more about. So the ICO is that supervisory authority that sort of manages data protection when it comes to the UK. Okay, so they are the ones that can actually say, Facebook, there's been a data breach, we are calling you to order. You fine, there's penalties and huge fines of non-compliance or breach of any of the GDPR requirements or principles and things like that. So the ICO is that body that really tries to enforce or make sure that they're able to enforce those principles and requirements of the GDPR if the businesses are obviously not compliant. Now, the ICO has now said, as businesses are looking to become compliant, how do they go about it? Where do they start? And the ICO has provided 12 steps, which you can look at about later. First of all, it talks about you as a business ensuring that your staff are aware about how they ought to handle and how they ought to process the personal information of customers that they hold or even employees, just to ensure that you have right data protection safeguards in place. When you have those databases that you contain thousands of people's information, you ensure that you've got those technical measures in place and all of those sort of things, okay? So it talks about making sure that your people, your staff are aware of the GDPR and what the GDPR is asking you to ensure that you put in place. It talks about a lot of other things as well. It talks about, we all know about consent. I'm sure a lot of you would have been on websites. Thanks for that, Emmanuel. A lot of you would have been online before, and you will see those cookie banners. Or maybe, of course, since 2018, you go online and you're shopping and you see maybe a link to a privacy policy. You see those cookie banners popping up. Those are the type of requirements that the GDPR has mandated on businesses to ensure that they have. Or maybe you're filling a form and you see a tick box that says, we would like to maybe send you future marketing material. Are you happy for us to do that? And you tick a box to say yes or no. Now, prior to this, organizations would just, send information. They put a pre-tick box, and so it just means that they're not even asking for your consent. So you get a lot of unsolicited emails in your inboxes and things like that. But GDPR is clamping on that now and is actually mandating organizations to ensure that their web forms and all those touch points where they process or they collect information of yourself and myself, they have certain, requirements and certain things in place. And the ICO can actually go on to businesses' websites to say, okay, well, you guys do not have this thing in place, we are going to penalize you. Or you as a customer, because most customers are now more aware of our rights and our privacy. And a lot of us are more aware of the GDPR. You know what the GDPR says. So you actually are well within your rights to go onto a website that maybe doesn't have a cookie banner and they're dropping cookies on your laptop, or they have forms where they're not collecting consent and they're sending you unsolicited emails and they don't give you a way to opt out of marketing. All of those, you can put that together and actually report a business. And that business could actually be audited and penalized. And there are huge fines. So that is essentially in a nutshell. So the privacy analyst, what you want to do is you go into the business, you say, okay, let's look at this 12 steps that the ICO has provided. Let's do an audit of your business to help you to become compliant. Do you have these things in place? Okay, do you have look at your websites, for instance, that's where you normally start from, to say, okay, on the website, you have these web forms where people are placing orders and stuff. And then you have another section where you still collect their maybe email addresses and you send them emails, or you even have their postal addresses, which you really do not need. So we'll go into a bit more detail. So there are a lot of things that the privacy analyst will help the business to do a gap analysis to say, is this in place? Is that in place? If they say no, what are the next steps? How do we plug the gaps after you have done that gap analysis? So this slide just says that as a privacy analyst, you don't need to worry about having to cram those 99 articles of the GDPR because you do not really need to know all of them. Yes, you can just read through, but there are some core principles, which I will talk to you about now, that you would need. They are a must for you to function as a privacy analyst. Now, this is it. What you call lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. Now, the ICO has also helped us to kind of break it down to make it easier, because if you're not a lawyer, why would you go through those articles? Because there's a lot of reading to do. But then he has actually whittled down and to say, okay, these are the core principles that an organization needs to consider when they are working towards compliance. And so you as a privacy analyst, you now need to say, I need to understand this. So you need to do your research. And there are I'll show you now, there are a lot of training providers. There are a lot of places that you can actually go. We also offer an opportunity to work on a project that will show you how to actually help a business to be GDPR compliant. There's actually a project going on right now within our program, and that's something that we offer. But let's talk about these principles, which are the core principles that you need to know. Now, there is a link in the chat box. You can click on it to read more. There's a lot of documentation as well to give you more detail that you can read as well. The slides will not be shared, but we will share the recording, okay? So lawfulness, fairness, and transparency just means that the GDPR has mandated on organizations to ensure that they are processing your information and my information in a lawful manner. And the lawfulness, we'll talk about it. Fairness and transparency, it just means when you go on a lot of websites now, you will see what you call a privacy policy. And the privacy policy is just, it just sort of articulates or makes you aware of the data handling practices of that, let's say Next, that you've been on Next website. When you go to the footer, you would normally see maybe a privacy policy. You click on it and it will tell you, oh, this is how we process your data. This is where we collect your data for this reason. And we ensure that your data is collected only for what is needed for. So in the past, organizations would just put out forms, collect people's details, store them in databases, and they're sending emails, whether they need it or not. But now the GDPR has said you should only collect information that you require. So as an example, if I want to place an order and I want you to deliver it to my home address, all that you really need from me is maybe a name and my postal address. But sometimes you find on websites they ask for phone numbers, and maybe emails, and they're not telling you, they're not giving you an opportunity to opt in or opt out. So all those things, the GDPR is frowning at them. So it talks about data minimization. Only collect it in a lawful manner, in line with what the GDPR has said you should, and be transparent also. So on websites, when you see that banner that pops up, and it says that, oh, this information that you provided will be used only for this purpose, maybe to send that delivery that you ordered, and will not be used for marketing, will not be used for anything else. And that is being transparent, and it is one of the principles of the GDPR. So as a privacy analyst, you will now need to help that business to do an audit, to review their website, to say, okay, do we have a privacy policy? Is your privacy policy up to date? If it isn't, you need to get it up to date. And at the point where you're collecting information from people are completing those web forms, do you have an opt-in box, for marketing? If not, then you are in breach. If you are just collecting people's information and sending them marketing emails without actually getting their consent. So it's those sort of things that the privacy analyst will help the business. Purpose limitation. This also talks about only collect information that is required for the purpose that you've collected information. I only require your name and your postal address to send you an order. It is not right for me to then add phone number and other fields on that form. That is what the GDPR is saying. So only limit it to what is required for that purpose. It talks about storage limitation as well. In the past, businesses have huge databases just because they want to be able to send marketing and promotional materials to people. And so they have databases. But when GDPR came, I'm sure a lot of you would have received those emails. Put it in the chat box if you got those emails where it said, we want to reconsent. Maybe we've had you on our database before, and we just want to check that you still want us to engage. Did you get those emails around 2018? Let me know in the chat box, yes or no, because a lot of yes, a lot of organizations where we did that as well at work. So we now had to go through our database to say, we now had to send emails back to our database to get people to reconsent, for them to actually remain in our marketing database. And so where you didn't give your consent, we actually decided that we will remove you from the database. So that is essentially what a privacy analyst would do. When I started, I was brought in as a privacy consultant into the organization that I am in now, and I've been working with them for 4 years. I head the department. So I came in there, and those are the kind of things that I did. I helped them to do an audit. I helped them to, do like what you call a data mapping, to say, what is the data that you have within your entire ecosystem, and what are you collecting this data for? How are you storing the data? Are you storing data that you don't even need? And if you are, you now need to start clearing down those historical records. So integrity and confidentiality, accountability, these are just principles of the GDPR. Because of time, I'm rushing through. I talked about data minimization and only, just essentially saying these are the things that, this is the reason, the only reason that you need to collect that information is what you should. And if you don't need it, don't store it only because you might need it in the future, because you might get into trouble. And the risk as well, the GDPR talks about taking a risk-based approach. So for instance, if you're storing information within those databases that you actually do not need, and you're storing information that is even more than you need, so let's say now we know that there's a lot of data breach incidents going on, you actually, you'd be faced with a high risk if that database was hacked or was breached, because then you will have a huge volume of customer data that is out there, and then you have to now you have to think about how you notify your customers, and then you have to report it to the supervisory authority that will now come and do an audit, and you could be penalized and things like that. So you're better off actually minimizing the data that you store. to reduce the risk. And that is essentially what the GDPR talks about. I already talked about this as well. So I talked about consent, just the fact that you provide an opportunity for your customers to give their consent for future communication. Legitimate interest, this is really, for instance, I used the example of the order. Somebody's placing an order, you want to buy a product maybe from Next, and of course, in order for Next to fulfill that order, they need your name and they need your postcode, your postal address. And so there is a legitimate reason or justification, as it were, for processing that information. And so there are several principles, or there are several considerations to be made when you are actually thinking about things from a legitimate interest. And so legitimate interest really would look at the interest, that actually falls on the business, and the interest of the customer as well. So there's what you call a balancing act. The GDPR says, okay, you as a business, you're collecting this information because of this. What value? You need to also assess the value and the interest that it is really going to add to your customers before you now can say, yes, hand on heart, this is a legitimate, this is where we're okay, we are compliant. Okay, it's not a case of, yes, we need it, and the interest is really on the business and not so much the value that is really going to add to the customer and things like that. Contract is really around, okay, the reason, for instance, you're coming onto our program now, we will need to store your name, your email address for us to be able to fulfill that contract, or maybe you are booking a holiday and that holiday company will need certain pieces of data from you in order for them to process that holiday. So you can't say, oh, no, I'm not going to give you this information because you actually will be breaching the contract. So if you want that holiday to be booked and you want that holiday to be processed, there are certain pieces of information that you need, and that is contractual. And that is one of the lawful bases that the GDPR talks about. And legal obligation, public interest, vital interest, these are all, lawful bases that the GDPR will say that as a business, you need to think about those. Make sure that everything that you are doing fits into one or the other, and just make sure that you're doing that lawfully. I'm going to pause now and see if anybody has any questions or any comment. I'm really rushing because we are supposed to be rounding up now. So if you've got any question, just pop it there. So what I'm doing, I'm just trying to cover and just run through the core principles of the GDPR, and then I'll tell you as a privacy analyst, how does that work? What do you need to do, or what does it entail? What is the day in the life of a privacy analyst? And what are the, what skills do you need, and things like that. I won't go into all that detail because I think I've already explained that again. These are just, maybe we'll provide the slides to you because we had to rush because of time. We might just provide that. So these are just principles of the GDPR. And I put here any questions. If you've got any questions about the privacy analyst or the role of a privacy analyst, just put it there. Now, I wanted us to do this, but time. So as a privacy analyst, let's say, for instance, you have done your groundwork, you have done your research, and maybe you have, because I think now there are a lot of training providers, and so you can actually take some certifications. There is OneTrust. I think all the links, we'll be putting them in the chat box. There are professional certifications that you can take in order for you to actually have an edge as a privacy analyst. And then I think we'll pop in the chat box. But let's say a privacy analyst, let's say you decide that you've taken those professional certifications, you have done your study, you have worked with us. If it's something you want to do, how do you now start? Now, the first place that a privacy consultant will do is to carry out what you call a gap analysis, which of course was mentioned. Do you support people to undertake professional certifications? We don't support, we will just guide you. So like the ladies in the program right now, we just give them pointers Some of them have written the professional certifications that we've asked them to do. Some of them have passed it and things. So we can guide you, but we don't actually, we don't administer and all of that. We can support. It depends what you mean by support. We can just guide you and tell you which ones to take and things like that. But we don't really run them as at yet, maybe something in the future, but we will tell you the ones that you need to take in order for you to actually have an edge. Okay, right. So as a privacy consultant, I've put this link here, but because of, Emmanuel, can you pop it in the chat? I don't know if we can do that now, but it is how you carry out a gap analysis. Okay, we'll put the link in there. How do you carry out a gap analysis? You get into the business and the business says, oh, we want to be GDPR compliant, and we hire you as a privacy consultant to help us. Now, okay, let me just do that quickly. So this link will be in the chat for you to have a look at. Will privacy analysts have US job opportunities? Yes, privacy analysts are global. There is your California Consumer Privacy Act, which is something that I also, I helped my business to do. So there are, and somebody was asking me about South Africa, they have the POPIA. So a lot of jurisdictions, so a lot of countries now are obviously very conscious of data protection and privacy. So a lot of them are mirroring the GDPR. They're just calling them different things. So if you are able to pick up that skill set as a privacy analyst, you can actually function, you know, across the globe. But it just means that different countries, different regions have different data protection regulations. Okay, the GDPR is obviously for the EU, and then we have the UK GDPR, but then there is your California Consumer Privacy Act, there is your POPIA for South Africa, there is PIPEDA for Canada. So they have different, but they are, most of them sort of have the same core principles around data protection and privacy. So if you are able to pick up the skills and knowledge and how to actually help any organization to, you know, to become compliant, you can function across the globe. And it just means you will now need to narrow down on that particular data protection regulation for that region. For the US. So for the US, they don't have a general or a federal data protection regulation, but they've got different states, you know how the US is. So they've got the California one, which is something that I'm also an expert in. They have the California Consumer Privacy Act. They have Nevada, they have New York. So they have different states, but really and truly, most of them are mirroring the GDPR. So there's not a lot of differences. The foundation will be around the core principles, but then they will have a few nuances. So if you pick up your, you know, general skill set as a privacy analyst, you should be able to do the same thing. Okay, so what we have here, I wonder if you can still see my screen. Can you see this screen? So the link is there. You can look at it later. This is actually in public domain. This is just one of the, I think this is one of the Gloucestershire Care Services, the NHS. Those of us in the UK, we're familiar. Now, this is a typical gap analysis report, as it were. So as a privacy analyst, you want to, once you start that, it's just really maybe using an Excel, and you now want to list out the core areas. Now I mentioned the ICO's 12 principles. You could start with that, you know, and you put it down and you start helping the business to carry out an audit to see their compliance maturity posture. So it is those 12 areas, you put it on an Excel and you're now asking them questions. One, the first one here says, the Data Protection Act talks about ensuring that you process information in a fair, lawful, and transparent way. Talks about the key principles I just talked about: data minimization, security, and all of that. So you go into the business and you put this thing down, say, okay, business, do you have this in place? How are you processing the information that you have? Is it, you have security standards in place? You have security policies? Do you have data protection policies? If they say yes, that's fine. If they say no, then you know that there is a gap and you identify that as a gap and you prefer recommendations, just like you did with the business analysis task. You will now help them to say, okay, this is not in place. What can we do in order for us to bridge this gap that you have? You could say, for instance, we are going to look at your website. On the website at the moment, you have several web forms, you have contact us forms, but do you have the consent box there? And if the answer is no, that is a gap. So you as a privacy analyst, you write that down as a gap, okay? So it's pretty much just going through those 12 steps that the ICO has recommended. You put that down and you now go into the business and you're asking them those questions and they will say, oh, we have this or we don't have that. And you just carry out that gap analysis. The link is there. Please open it and have a look at it in your own time. It gives you an idea of what that privacy consultant will do. I got in as a privacy consultant about £450 a day, and I was just asked to help them to carry out what you call a data mapping exercise. And this was where I started. It was just an Excel, those key principles, and it is just yes or no, first of all. Please meet yourself, yes or no questions. And I was able to help them, to carry out this gap analysis and then present it back to the business to say, okay, these are the gap areas. Let us start implementing the changes. Now, there is what you call an approach. And that approach is just, first of all, you start with assessing. So carrying out that audit, then you now say you measure what needs to be done, and then you implement. So assess, measure, and change. So once you have done that gap analysis, you now say, okay, these are the gaps that have been identified. This is how you can bridge those gaps in order for you to be compliant. And let me just tell you that there is no one organization that can actually say they are fully compliant. And so the GDPR implementation program goes on for a long time. Now, I started with this business and I've been there 4 years. We are not even done. But what businesses do, they try to attain what you call a defensible position. It just means let's look at the high risk areas for us as a business and let's tackle those areas first so that we know that, okay, we are okay. Then all the other gaps that you as a privacy consultant would have identified, they now work on that on an ongoing basis. And a lot of times it could take a long time, and it just goes on and on and on, and things change all the time. So that was that. Let me go back here. And that's essentially what the privacy consultant would really need to do. You want to audit, you want to say, hey, business. Now, some businesses, and the jobs are there. There are so many. I'm seeing them all the time. Now, some businesses will say, yes, we started, but some way we paused it. And now we want you to come and help us to pick up from where we stopped. So as a privacy consultant, what do? You say, you ask, in fact, let me pose that question. So I'm just putting it out there. So if you get into an organization and they say, oh, we started working on compliance and we stopped, what is the next question? What would you ask? Please put it in the chat box quickly. I know I'm rushing, but we're going to round up soon. Put it in the chat box. What do you think? What will be the next question? If you are asked to come in tomorrow, £400 a day to help the business, and they say, oh, we've done something, but we stopped, and we want you to pick up, what do you think your next question should be? Can I get anybody, just any guesses? Fact finding, okay. Can I have 2 more? Fact finding, yeah. Can you throw a bit more light on that? Fact finding, give me a bit more. Maybe more. Can I get somebody else? What would you do? What would you ask them? What would the next question be if they say they've done something but it paused? What would your answer be? What would your next question be as if I just anybody, as even as a business analyst? Guys, talk to me. I know it's getting late. We're rounding up. Questions about what? Brilliant. I love that. I'm not sure who did. I can't see your name. Brilliant. That's what you do. So you say the next question is what has been done before. okay? You now say, can I have some, whether it's documents that will tell me what has been done, what do you have in place? That is you still carrying out another gap analysis to say, okay, this we have done, but of course you also want to benchmark on using this same ICO principles to say, okay, based on what they recommend, these 12 core principles, let's tick off what you have done and let's now identify what is left. Then you now say, okay, let's put a project in place, let's put, the things in place for us to start bridging those gaps. And that's essentially what you will do. So somebody says, if there are about 90 plus regulations, how do you select which regulation to use to develop the GDPR? That's a good one. So a good place to start is the ICO 12 principles. That is usually where most organizations have started. So even if you go to any of those training providers tomorrow, they will always reference that because that was like the standard that was saying, that they would say, use this as a benchmark to start. And then you look at that, but because it really covers the core areas. So using those 12 steps that the ICO has recommended will be a good place to start. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Now, I've put here additional information. So please, in the chat as well, we're going to put some links where you can read more about this on the reasons for stopping and requests for the previous process. That's brilliant. Thanks for that. Yep, I like that. I like that. Exactly. What's the reason? Why did they stop? Was it budget? Was it lack of expertise? Now, where the organization that I joined at the time nearly 4 years ago, they had started, I think they were 6 months into their privacy program, but they just got internal staff who were not experts. So they were wasting time trying to get up to speed. They had to try to read up and all of that. And it was taking time for the project to really, get off the ground. But then there was the 25th of May, 2018, which was the deadline for the GDPR at the time that was coming close. And so the business decided, okay, you know what, let's get an expert in. Let's get somebody that already knows what to do to come and help this project to move on. So sometimes organizations may start with internal hands to say, yeah, let's just get this team together to spend, maybe they go for a 1 day, 2 day training and they're just reading up and trying, but that would take longer, of course. But of course, if you bring somebody who's already an expert who has done it before, knows what they know where to go, and they hit the ground running. And that's when I came in. I came to just help 40 brands, my organization, about 40 brands, to help them carry out what you call a data mapping exercise that went on for a good few months. Okay. So, so, I mean, it could be different reasons. It could just be budget, it could be anything. Okay. So that is another link for you. We will come to that later. Okay, so getting relevant professional certifications. Now there is your IAP. Now OneTrust professional certificate is another link we're going to put there. OneTrust, some of you may have seen them. They are I think they are the largest players in terms of privacy management software. So they have a huge privacy management software suite that a lot of big players are using for maybe, those cookie banners, those cookie consent, and all of those things that you see on a lot of websites today. OneTrust is behind it. Now, OneTrust offers free professional certification every now and then. So the link that we have provided for you there is one you can click on. Some of the students in our program have just done it. And so it's a long, I think a day or two, you just go attend it so that you get an idea of, get that knowledge around data protection and privacy. And then you can actually write the exam. So now when you write that, you put it on LinkedIn, you put it on your CV that you've got that certificate, and that gives you an edge. And there's several others, but OneTrust is, I think they are the most reputable out there. And so that's another link that we've also provided. And finally, we also offer that opportunity for you to gain experience as a GDPR compliance Analyst. Okay, we have an ongoing project at the moment. What we do is we show you, I've been in this for over 4 years, and so I bring on my experience, and I'm still in the space. I work as a privacy manager for a global organization, so I've got that everyday experience. And so we show you how within 4 to 6 months you can actually help a business, to put the strategy in place in order for them to be compliant with the GDPR. Now, I also say that once you get the core principle for GDPR, you can actually use that, across different geographies as well. So like we mentioned, the US, South Africa, and different parts of the world, the principles are the same. And a lot of these jurisdictions or regulations have mirrored the GDPR. So if you have a good understanding of how to help a business to implement the GDPR or the GDPR compliance program, then you should be able, to help to do the same across different geographies as well. Now, I wanted to share a few success stories. This is just one of Ade, who was with us as well. He came on and he got into business analysis as well. I think there are a few. We might share the slide with you so you can, because we're rushing, because we press for time. Now the next slide here is just how do you get a foot in the door. Is really professional certifications. We are big on that. We ask that you get professional certification, especially if you're coming from a different field and you want to get into a new space. A professional certification gives you an edge. We're not saying that that's what will give you the job, but it gives you an edge, because before you are able to even prepare and even write an exam and pass it, chances are that you will have spent time, to read up and all of that, and that will increase your knowledge about the subject matter, about that subject area. So professional, and then it gives you credibility. It gives you that, like, okay, yeah, this person is serious. When it's on your CV, of course, you will be looked at differently as to if you weren't. But that, of course, is not saying that there aren't people who have gotten jobs without professional certifications. But for us, we encourage that you do that, because that's the route that we've taken. I'm sure if you check me out on LinkedIn, you will see all the courses and things that I've done, because that opens doors for you. It might just be what will move the needle. It might just be what will make the difference between you being selected and another person who does not have those professional certifications. So another way you can do it is you can join a bootcamp just to get experience, whether it's for business analysis or even the privacy, data protection and privacy analysis as well. Look for ways to, it might just be, it might be your church. I remember those days when I was trying to get experience, I went onto my church and I said, oh, GDPR is coming. Are you aware about it? Do you guys want to work on GDPR compliance? I can help you because I've done this training. It could be your church, it could be a charity or anywhere. Just look for opportunities that you can begin to gain experience, whether as a business analyst or even a privacy analyst. So, and trust me, those experiences nobody's going to say because it was a charity or because it was some small business. No, experience is experience. As long as you are able to demonstrate and articulate yourself properly during the interview. One of our clients, Amanda, she was in teaching for 8 years. She's a program manager with Accenture now. She was with us for a little over a year. But she also worked in a church. She did some admin stuff, and she told me about it. We just said, okay, we can repurpose this, and we just name it project coordinator, and we put it on the CV. And so it's about repurposing what you have done before. So no matter what you have done, there would definitely be some valuable experience that you can transfer into the tech space. It's just about working with somebody that would help you to put that properly. So for Amanda's example, she didn't put that admin role that she had done in the church because somebody close to her said, oh, don't put it. It was part-time and it's a church, But when she spoke to me, I was like, no, put it back. So this is 9 months of working in the church as I think it was a project coordinator. And we put that back on the CV. Do you know that by the time she put that back on the CV and put it out there, the calls just started flooding in. And that's how she attended interviews and got a job. So if you work with somebody who has been there, the person will be able to guide you as to how do you leverage those skills that you have from the past that you can transfer, to identify those ones. Of course, not all of them will be transferable, but you need someone to be able to say, okay, these are the ones that can be transferable into the role of a business analyst or even a privacy analyst or a project manager. I know some of you are interested in project management. You've spoken to me before. That is something that we also offer. And I said research, research, research. As a business analyst, we talked about it. It is a skill that is important. Whether as a business analyst or a privacy analyst, research is important. Even as a project manager, research is key because you need to fact finding. Somebody talked about that. It is research. So do that. Look for internship opportunities across different ways. That is where you start picking up the skills. So don't sit back and say, oh, I don't have relevant experience. I don't have the skill. That's why I'm not doing that. What are you doing about it? Are you also networking is the next bit. We always talk about that as well. Who are the people within your circle? Who are you on LinkedIn? If you want to get into tech, you have to be on LinkedIn. You have to be connecting with the right people. Because when you are in these communities, that's where you see opportunities, where you see people on Facebook. There are several groups, business analyst communities, project manager, management, privacy analysts. There are several communities. Are you in any of this? So that is another area that you need to look at. In those communities, you need to network, and so that you can get opportunities as well for when these openings come on. So let me tell you about what we actually offer. I will pause before that. Does anybody have any question about the privacy one, which I'm sorry I had to really rush through because of time. But all these links that we are sharing, all the links that we have shared in the chat, please click on them, read more about them so you can get a good grasp of what it really entails. And I think the privacy analyst also, it's rewarding as well. I told you that when I started, I think I started at 450, 400, and then 450. So you can get 450, 500. I think it's on one of those slides, but it's also very rewarding, and it is easy to get in. You don't, like I said, you don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to cram those articles. You just need to understand those core principles, and then you just need to find a way to get, relevant understanding and experience, as it were. And you don't need to go to university for a year. Somebody, I don't know if she's on here, was talking about going to school and all that. I was like, no, you don't need it. I went for a quick crash program, and I was on 4 months program, and then I was able to put a strategy for an organization which I pitched during the interview, and that's how I got the contract role. And so there are several ways that you can actually make this transition without starting from the scratch, and it's really about getting somebody or a program that can really help you, and that's what we are offering. Okay, so if you come on, sorry, trying to find the slide with us. So we've said all of that to open this up to you, that we offer privacy. If you want to become a privacy analyst, you want to become a business analyst, a project manager, a PMO analyst, a project coordinator, that is something that we offer. And you will get an opportunity, one, to get tutor-led sessions. And we have a learning management system. You have live sessions like this. Of course, we're not going to rush it because this was a 2-hour masterclass. But of course, when you are in there, we take our time with you. You have those learning live sessions, and we have a learning management system. All our training, all our recordings will be there for you to access as well. We guide you with how to optimize your LinkedIn, your CV. We have CV templates. Then the big one is you are able to come on to gain hands-on experience. We have projects where you work on, and they're real life projects. They're not fictitious. We don't make them up. They are projects that we as a business, kind of initiate, that would actually add value to us. And then we also have clients that we also, have projects that, we kind of help to deliver. Okay, so you get an opportunity to gain those hands-on experience, and then you get that 4 months membership with us. You also have members of our team who are experts across different fields, and you get that hand-holding as well. So I talked about guidance on business analysis and data privacy, 24 access to our project management tools. Somebody asked about tools. So we have the tools. Tunde talked about access to Jira, Confluence. So you have access to those tools and templates, so that way you know how to actually support a project as a business analyst or as a project manager from beginning to the end, and following those templates. You don't have to scratch your head. You don't have to look for it, because it's there, and we just guide you through it as well. And of course, we have our mentors and our trainers. We have a Telegram group where you can ask questions as well. The BA course, we have a new cohort starting on the 20th. And the BA course, by the time you finish 4 weeks of that BA course, you will be ready to go and write your BA foundation, because the BA course, we design it in, we use the BA syllabus, the business analysis syllabus. So your BCS, British Computer Society, for those of us in the UK, they are the standard, that's the body. And so we use that syllabus to actually design our BA course, so that by the time you've gone through the course, what we do is we now encourage you to go and book that exam so that you can write it and it's on your CV to give you the edge. Then we put you on a project. It could be a CRM implementation project. It could be a GDPR compliance project. It could be a website development project, several projects that we have in the pipeline, and you get hands-on experience. And that ends up on your CV, which we help you, of course, to craft, and then you're able to demonstrate. And of course, we then provide you with reference as well for the period that you have worked with us. Most of the ladies that have gotten jobs recently, we just get the call or a form, and we just provide references. And that is pretty much what we're about. And so the offer, which I've been talking about a lot, is that now some of you have been on my 5-day challenge. I think I've done 2 this year. And some of you have booked calls with us before. But this time we are actually for 72 hours only. That's from today and the next 72 hours. We are giving a huge discount. So if you click that link that's in the chat box, the one that says offer page, you will see it is huge. We've never done it before, but we just wanted to give more people an opportunity to come onto the program, because we know a lot of people are interested, and it is only going to be on for 72 hours. So if that's something that you think you'd like to to take up, please click the link and go ahead, look at it. And the beauty again is that we give instrumental payments. So I think it's split into 3. So there is a one-time, and there is 3 months, and there is 12 weeks where you pay weekly. And that is the offer we've never done before. This is the first time. We just thought, okay, let's put it out there. So that's it pretty much. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions at this point. Please feel free to put it in the chat box, and we will call it, wow, 10 o'clock. It wasn't meant to go for that long. But tell me, how have you found today? Can I have some feedback? We like feedback. Please put it in the comment if you have any questions, any feedback. Please put it in the chat box, and we would thank you, Gloria. I hope to see some of you here. I hope you take the offer, because after 72 hours, it goes back to what it was before. So the privacy analyst one, did you find that useful? Is there anybody who might be interested? Can you put it in the chat box? Is that something you've been interested in? Thank you, Lily. Is that something you've been interested in exploring, the privacy analyst career path? Please put it in the chat box. Or do we have more business analysts probably today? Yes, please put it in the chat box. Fantastic presentation. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So privacy analyst, can we do that question again? Thank you. I'd like to explore privacy analyst area and BA. Okay. Yeah, please click the link. Thank you. I'm interested in data. I'm interested in exploring both. Okay. Okay. I'm interested in exploring both. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. That's brilliant. Those two, how much does a BCSB exam? We don't do the exam. I think that's one you'd have to find out, but they're reasonable. It's been how many years that I did that before, but you just Google, you'll find the BCS BA Foundation exam. It's there. They're quite reasonable from what I don't know if it's changed now, and they're different providers now, so it just depends. Thank you. So I can see some. So that is the link there. I need to see that you are clicking the link and taking. What time is the Saturday training? Saturday training. What's Saturday training? There isn't a Saturday training. Saturday training is for people on the program. Is that the one you're talking about? So if you have signed up, yes, you can join the program. It is because the trainer is in Australia, so it is our early morning time. Yes, when you sign up. Yes, it is morning for this cohort. Yes, it starts in the morning because the trainer is joining from Australia. Okay, so thank you very much. We had almost 30-something people till the end, which is great. Thank you. I hope you found it useful. And I think we'll also pop the link for you to book a call if you want to. That might just be on Niger, I think, to book a call if you want to ask more. Yeah, there's somebody unmuting to ask a question? Yeah, there is a link. Taye Moses, there is a link. Can we post the link again? The link is on there, so please click the link and save the link. Emmanuel, can we pop the link again? Someone's not seen the link. Yeah, so just click that link, that one that says offer. I'll pop it again. And we will send the emails, we will send a recording of this. I've put it there again. We will send that recording and we'll also send the link for you to have a look at what it will offer. Right, it's 10 p.m. now, and I think it's a good time to wrap it up if we haven't got any questions. And those of you on the WhatsApp group, if you've got any specific questions, the WhatsApp group is still there. You can ask your questions. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to stop sharing. It's amazing to see all your faces. I need to take a picture of this because it's just great to see all these faces that stay till the end. So that's the offer. We promise that if you stay till the end, you will get that link, and that's the link there to give you the discount to come on board with us. Thank you so very much, Lydia, Johnson, Lily, Folakemi, Dele, Tammy, Dolakwa, Bemi, Balaji, Kletos, and Gladys, Gloria, Prudence. Thank you very much for being here today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless and bye-bye.